Hey there, I'm Jeff with CreditCards.com. Today we're talking about what goes into your credit score, what's not in your credit score, and we'll be specifically focusing on your FICO score. So hopefully you find the video helpful, we earn your thumbs up, and you subscribe to our channel. We'll be doing a lot of videos in the future about credit cards and credit more generally. All right, so let's get to the point. What's in your credit score? Here's a look at the different components of your FICO score and the different weight that they are given by the Fair Isaac Corporation, or FICO. So you can see your biggest factor is your payment history, that's 35%. Credit utilization is 30%. Length of credit history is 15%. By the way, we'll cover these individually here in a second. Your credit mix is 10%, and your new credit is also 10%. So your biggest factor is obviously your payment history, and that has to do with whether or not you pay your bills on time. So this is important whether you have 30 years of credit history or you're brand new to credit. You want to pay your bills on time, every time, over time. And kind of the rest will take care of itself in terms of building credit. You know, you want to know the other things, but the single biggest factor is paying your bills on time, over time, every time. That's your payment history. You'll notice that things that are in the distant past affect you less than like delinquencies here in the short term. So if you have any chargebacks or late payments, delinquencies, if you have any bankruptcies here in the near term, it affects you a lot more than it will if it's way in the past. Now, the other thing is your credit utilization, and I think this confuses a lot of people. Think of credit utilization as how much credit you're using divided by how much is available to you. So if you only had one credit card, it would be how much is your balance on that credit card divided by the credit limit for that card. And typically you want to keep your credit utilization below 25%. Anything above that can be considered risky to any of the lenders that's looking at it or anybody that's looking at your credit score. That's why you may see your credit score dip if you make a particularly large purchase on your card. Now, it's not just about your overall utilization. You know, they do factor in all your different lines of credit, all your different loans into your utilization. But you also want to be cognizant of the utilization of any one piece of credit. So if you have a number of different credit cards, but one has a really high utilization, that can hurt you as well. So in general, kind of one tip to raise your credit score is to just ask for a credit limit increase. Because just mathematically, if you have, $1,000 on a card with a $10,000 limit, then you're using 10% of your credit, right? But if you get that bumped up to $15,000, then your utilization goes down and your credit score should go up. Now, the other thing, 15%, is just your length of credit history. This is why younger people have typically lower credit scores because, they just don't have that much history of credit. Generally you want to keep an account, keep it live for as long as possible, as long as practical for you, because age of credit is important as well. And then you have credit mix and your new credit, both of which are 10%, so the smaller items, but they are important. Credit mix is just looking at the different types of credit that you have. You want to show that you're responsible with different types of credit, installment debt like a mortgage or an auto loan, and then also, revolving credit like a line of credit or a credit card. So you want a nice mix of those. Generally, installment debt is a little bit more preferable, but both can help or hurt your credit score. But you kind of want a mix of both if you want, a good credit score. You want to be responsible with all forms of credit. The other thing is new credit. And really this looks at how often you are accessing new credit because they're trying to gauge your riskiness, your credit worthiness with your credit score. And so if you are constantly accessing more and more credit, then you're deemed to be more risky. And this is why when you apply for a new credit card, or somebody does a hard inquiry on you, then you'll see your credit score, drop for a few months because there is a hard credit inquiry on your account and it looks like you're accessing more and more credit. On top of that, if you do get a new line of credit, it will drag down your average age of account, which as we know, that's a factor of your credit score as well. So you want to be a little stingy with signing up for new credit. And if you do get something, wait a couple of months before you get something else because it could be considered a little bit more risky if you're constantly asking for more and more credit. Now, most of this stuff regarding new credit will go away over time. They're kind of more short-term in nature. So if you get a new credit card, yes, the hard inquiry will hurt you. The average age of account will go down, that will hurt you. But if you're being responsible over time, you should see your credit score rebound. So those are the components of your FICO score. That's it. I mean, a lot of people think there are other factors that are incorporated. Maybe they are in different credit scores or different scoring models. But for FICO, that's what you get. Here are a few items that are actually not generally incorporated into your FICO score. So you can see these here on the screen. There's a lot of location items that are not factored in, like the type of home you live in, the frequency of relocation, personal information like your race or religion. A lot of employment information is not included. And then other items as well as, whether or not you get public assistance or you have an inheritance. A lot of that stuff is not factored whatsoever into your credit score. Now let's cover some of the ranges of credit scores. And there are two major credit score companies out there. There's FICO, the one that we're mostly focusing on because it is the most popular, and also VantageScore. VantageScore was formed by the three major credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So it is gaining steam. A lot of people do use VantageScore, but still the industry leader is FICO. So if you can only focus on one, focus on FICO. So here's a look at the different ranges for FICO 8 and VantageScore. Keep in mind though, there are dozens of different types of credit scores. There's auto loan specific scores. There's FICO 5, 4, and 2 that you may see that mortgage lenders use. There's new versions of FICO and VantageScore, although they're not kind of widely used as of yet. Most people still use FICO 8 or VantageScore 3.0. So if you just have a free credit monitoring service from your credit card, like I have a Bank of America credit card, they actually report my FICO 8 from TransUnion data. If you actually look at it, you can see they say FICO 8, TransUnion, and they'll say that it could be different from other scores that you see out there. So just because you're seeing your FICO score 8 doesn't mean that it's the exact same score that a lender will be pulling. The same goes with VantageScore. So I also have a Chase credit card, and within the Chase credit journey section of their website and mobile app, I can see that they report to me my VantageScore 3.0 from data from Experian. You can see the score is actually different from my FICO score from Bank of America. I think both of them are pretty close. They're fairly helpful to be a gauge as to what your credit score is, but they're not probably going to be the exact credit score that a lender is pulling. So if you're applying for a mortgage, they might pull your FICO 4, and it might be different from your 8 or your VantageScore. But in general, these free credit monitoring service from the different banks, Bank of America, Citi, Chase, all of those guys, they're helpful in understanding what your credit score looks like, although they might not be exactly what your credit score is if a lender is pulling it. But that's about it. That's probably too much information about your credit score, but hopefully you found the video helpful. You can now see what's in your credit score, what's not in your credit score, some of the different credit scoring companies. You can also see that there's some systematic, pretty intelligent ways to improve your credit score over time or keep a really good credit score. Pay your bills on time, overtime, every time, keep your utilization low, develop a history of different forms of credit, and don't constantly access new forms of credit. That's about it. Hopefully you're now a subscriber to our channel. If you have any questions, you can write those down below in the comments. You can always go to CreditCards.com. We have all sorts of guides and articles about pretty much everything related to credit. Have a great day.